Welcome to the Pal Bros Movie Reviews, brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. Our reviews are more than just reviews. We are here to build the new Christendom by exposing the bad writers, money lovers, and sexual perverts found in Hollywood. Continue listening to know what type of content we as Christians should be consuming and what we should stray away from. This is the Pal Bros Movie Reviews. If you wish to support us in our mission, head over to patreon.com/thepalbros or follow the link in the show notes. There you'll gain access to our exclusive show, the Pal Bros Mini Reviews, as well as early access to both movie chronicles and movie reviews by the Pal Bros. And now, on with the show. A team of four, a family. Marvel's first family. Introduced in their own comic series in November of 1961, set the road for great success in their series. They were well beloved and adored by fans. They couldn't get enough of this dynamic family of supers. So why not create a movie on the backbone of some less than great films? The family that was strong and beloved should set out for a great superhero movie and pace the road for more as the comic book counterpart did so many years before. But did it work? Did this film pave that road? Well, maybe, but maybe not in the way they were expecting. This film isn't quite what they were hoping for. But was it a total flop? Does this movie have good things? Does it have bad things? Continue listening as we review Fantastic Four. Welcome back to the Pal Bros Movie Reviews. We thank you guys for listening. We are here with another episode for you guys, and I'm Tobiah Powell. I'm one of your hosts, joined with Trent Powell, your other host. Trent, how you doing today?
Doing well. Glad to be here.
And what are we reviewing?
We're doing 2005's Fantastic Four. Yay!
This is not.
I guess this is like the second attempt. Not Fanforstic. Not the unreleased Fantastic Four movie from the 70s. Fantastic Four. After watching it, again, I hadn't seen this probably since I was like, I don't know, how old was I when it came out? I was 9 when it came out. So I probably saw it around that time. And I might have seen it once again, like a couple years later. So probably I was like 10 or 11 when I last saw it. So I didn't know what to expect. I remember what I remember about it from when I was a kid. But even when I was a kid, I just liked superheroes. So, this was a team up of 4 superheroes. Yeah, I liked it then. And so going into it, I was like, okay, I know I liked this as a kid. I remember playing the video game as a kid. That was always fun. But I remember doing that. And I always liked the Fantastic Four for the most part. And so, yeah, this movie was not terrible, but it's got a lot of problems. I think the writing suffers a lot. It's really cringy in many moments. There's a lot of really weird conveniences that the writers just decided to throw in there just because they probably couldn't figure anything else out. Writers do that sometimes. And we'll get into that because there's a lot of them. I think when I was done with it, when I finished watching, I was like, okay, that wasn't too bad. But then when I started thinking about it more, I was like, yeah, this movie's got a lot of problems. And I say for the most part, it was pretty boring. Most of the movie just involves them figuring out their powers and then fighting with one another. So yeah, and we get the third act, and the bad guy comes in and threatens the good guys, and then they have their final fight, and then the movie's over. So what was really interesting is I feel like the first act went really fast. Like they set up the plot right away, where these 4 people who worked for NASA, I guess, at one point, are trying to go to space to or capture this energy because there's a big solar flare that's going to happen in space, so they want to go and test it or experiment on it or something. And so they go to Victor Von Doom, just in case you.
Doctor Doom.
What?
It's Doctor Doom.
Well, I know, but his name's not Doctor Doom until that's his super villain ego. But,
right. Yeah.
So, anyways, sorry, I'm getting into the plot because I'm just supposed to talk about my initial thoughts. So, initial thoughts: plot was messy. They rushed into it, and then they slowed it way down for a whole hour of the film, and then third act really kind of rushed as well. So that's kind of how I see the film. And there's a lot, like I said, a lot of conveniences in the writing, a lot like plot convenience that was really annoying, that stood out to me, and I didn't like, and cringy dialogue, like a lot of these superhero movies in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, 10s, or nope, that mid 2000 before 2010. I don't even know what you call that. But anyways, CGI was meh. I mean, what movie did I just? Oh, I didn't watch it. But what year did Dead Man's Chest? That's like a good way to pinpoint like where CGI is at. Like Dead Man's Chest is one of the best, I think, the best use of CGI in a movie during this era. I think it was 2006. And
yeah, it was.
And it's just like, even today, on today's standards, it's pretty spectacular what they did with Davy Jones and whatnot. And oh yeah, well, I just watched The Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace came out in '99, and I feel like the CGI looked almost better in that movie. Of course, George Lucas kind of ahead of his time and whatnot, but that's not necessarily a fair comparison. But anyways, those were my thoughts. That was probably a lot of thoughts. I had to get it out. All right, Tobiah, what were your initial thoughts?
No, a lot of the same. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on pretty much everything there. Maribel, my wife, thought we were going to disagree on this movie, but no, we agree. Like, there's
Wait, what?
Your first reaction is like, oh, that was a decent movie. But then you look at it and you're like, well, it's a decent movie as just a movie by itself, not as a superhero movie. Still, even just as a movie, it struggles a lot, but it's better as just a movie and not a superhero movie. As a superhero movie, it's a terrible superhero movie.
Yeah.
Because of what you said of how there's 2 action scenes in this entire movie. There are 2 action scenes,
right?
One in the beginning and one in the end, and it just and everything else in between was just pretty boring, like you said, and just was them just figuring out their powers, and it was pretty dumb, like the whole thing. And
most superhero movies do the whole like figure out your powers scene in like 1 or 2 scenes. Like you could get it over with pretty quick, and then you move on.
Yeah,
this one just kept lingering.
This was the whole movie. Yeah, it was the whole movie, and then it was the end that was like what they had to overcome was learning their powers, and it was like, that's really what you chose. Like, the villain wasn't even present in this whole movie. He was like there in the background, but he wasn't present in like the heroes' lives until the very end as like an actual villain. There was just nothing that they were struggling against, and other than themselves and figuring out their powers. And that was just dumb as a superhero movie, because that's not what we go to watch superhero movies for. We want to see action and the heroes being heroes. There's also, of the 2 action scenes, there's no scene, like none of the scenes were they actually being heroes.
Yeah, well, they caused the destruction.
Yeah,
of both.
So the first action scene was their fault. Yeah. They caused it. They caused the destruction. So they're saving the people that they were basically nearly killing.
And then everyone cheers at the
second
end.
Scene.
And instead of the cops arresting them, everyone just cheers, and then they're okay, and the cops like start praising. And then the chief goes up to them and he's like, "Who's the leader?" What kind of question is that? Like, who asked that? It's like, this isn't like. I know. I mean, I guess you're just assuming this is a superhero team, but all they did was just save some people, and I mean, they kind of used their powers, but not really. Like,
the only people they saved were the firemen. And the firemen were only there because they were causing a destruction.
Yeah.
So, and then the second scene was they weren't even saving anybody but themselves. They were trying to save their own lives against the bad guy that was trying to kill them. Like, the bad guy wasn't trying to kill other people or anything. He's just trying to kill them. And so they caused a big old destruction and like literally causing a supernova, creating the sun right in the freaking middle of New York. And so they stopped the bad guy from killing them, and it's like they didn't save anybody. They weren't saving anybody. The bad guy wasn't even trying to kill anybody but them.
And so what do? Let's throw a party for them on a boat.
Oh yeah.
Good job, you guys. You saved yourselves. Well done. Most of the city, or not a good chunk of the city, is destroyed, and people probably got killed, but hey, good job. Well, not really. But
Yeah.
anyways, that was just hilarious to me.
So yeah, it has issues for sure.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so let's.
Well, we just kind of went over through
we,
the whole movie.
We both kind of ranted about. Yeah, I know. We both kind of ranted about all of our problems with this movie.
Oh, I have more problems.
Get into some more details here. Yeah. Do you want to start off somewhere? I don't know. What do you want to do?
I don't know. Let's character development. That's one thing I think they actually did kind of well in some senses.
Yeah.
And that they gave.
No. So yeah,
Go ahead.
the first scene. The first scene when we're getting introduced to all these characters, we're seeing like their personalities, and like Reed Richards is broke and weak and kind of just gets trampled over by everybody. The Human Torch guy, he's just like very egotistical and hothead, yeah.
Full of himself, yeah.
And then the Thing is he has anger and paranoia, and then Sue, she's
exactly. That's it.
That was I put a question mark for her.
Yeah, that's basically it. She had nothing. She was a beautiful woman that two men are trying to marry. She gets proposed to twice in this movie, by the way.
Yeah,
and she's just there. Like, she's just there in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the point, because she and her powers are invisibility. One thing I noticed is that I don't know if I can fully develop this, but each character, they take on their superpowers are related to something about them. Johnny Storm, he's a hothead, he's full of himself, so he gets fire powers. Of course, he does. Mm-hmm. Victor Von Doom, he wants power, so he can control powers.
Yeah.
Like power, like electricity and whatnot.
Yeah.
Mr. Fantastic, he is. Well, and then there's also their powers are also kind of the antithesis in some senses. Like Mr. Fantastic, he's not very flexible because he's very stern. Like, he's very straight to the point. He's very oblivious to what's going on. He's not good with women, and yet his power is flexibility. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. Ben, he's very stern and like how do I explain him? He's just a hard man.
He's all about strength, yeah.
Strength, and he's a hard man in a good way, I guess. And so he gets rock powers. And then Sue, she feels invisible to like the man that she actually loves, which is Reed Richards. He was oblivious to her and was afraid of commitment and whatnot. And so I'm like, at that point, maybe I am reading too much into it, but it kind of matches the personalities in some sense.
There, yeah, for sure.
There was a couple other things that they did that made me think of that related to their powers. Things that said, it was like little like comments that were made before they got their powers. I was like, that's because I think they made a comment about her being invisible or something like that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, oh, funny. And something, I think even something related to Johnny Storm. But anyways, not Captain America. Chris Evans is in this film. Not a good actor. Jessica Alba is in this film. And I don't know I can't remember the actor's name who plays Reed Richards. He was okay.
Leon Grafud.
That one.
I don't know who the Thing is though, or Doctor Doom. I don't know their names. Yeah. Okay. More character development. I think one theme is, kind of a theme, I guess, when it comes to the villain was, it's actually an N.D. Wilson quote that it made me think of when it was something Sue said. She said, it was when the storm was coming at them and gonna hit the Thing, and the Thing, I don't remember the guy's name. He is outside of the ship, and he needed to come in, but they just didn't have time. So Victor was just gonna close the Thing and save himself and Sue.
Yeah.
And then he says,
he's about self-preservation.
They're just gonna die. Yeah, they're just gonna die anyway. And then Sue says that he could at least try.
Yeah.
And it made me think of the N.D. Wilson quote that sometimes standing against evil is more important than defeating it. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a theme, sort of.
Yeah, a little bit.
There, and then you kind of see it again in the third act. Yeah, so you just kind of see that, like, the villain right off the bat, like this one, we're pretty much introduced to who he is as a person, is all about self-preservation, and he doesn't care to even try to do the right thing. He's just trying to save himself, and he didn't think about like, oh, could we possibly try to save him? Is there any chance? He's like, I don't care. Like, I'm just looking at it. He's gonna die, so I'm not even gonna try. And then Sue Storm was like, no, we have to try. We have to at least try to save him. And so it just kind of showed the hero side of the hero's side of how they see things, and the villain side how he sees things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you also have his desire for his own reputation and his his company, and he wants this to succeed for his own sake, and it's all for selfish means, and he's just using these 4 people that he used to go to school with or whatever, and to use them to meet those ends, or to meet his ends, make his ends meet. He doesn't care about self-preservation or about saving the lives of others. And then shows that he a little bit of a villain even from then. And they, like, I think they did an okay job developing him, sort of, because he was kind of like just bad from the beginning. I mean, there wasn't really anything likable about him. There wasn't, even from the beginning, like the first scene we see him in, he's sitting in the shadows, which it's foreshadowing in a sense. He's sitting in the shadows in the dark while Reed Richards is giving his pitch.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps us, see, okay, this is clearly the villain, and then you give him that moment where he chooses his own self-preservation over the life of others, the life of another, and so that sets him up as a villain. And then further on, he starts getting angry and then jealous that like Sue's spending all this time with Reed, and you can see that she's drifting away from him. But apparently, from her perspective, they weren't ever a thing, even though he proposed to her. Like, I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, I know. It was weird. Yeah.
It was weird. And then, well, I was a little bit confused, but what was his final motivation at the end to just all of a sudden decide to kill them? Was it just...
I don't know.
Because
I asked Maribel at that moment too, and I'm like, did I miss something? Like, why is he trying to kill them? And she's like, I don't know. Like, okay, it's not just me. I had no idea why he was trying to kill them.
Right. I think it was because
she's like, maybe it's because she just hates them, and because of their relationship with Sue and all that. And I was like, maybe.
And he kind of blames Reed for what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, because you have that moment where Reed is saying like, hey, I'm sorry for what happened, and then he's like, well, you're sorry, like it was your fault, like you should have done the calculations, you should have known, like you're the one that wanted this to happen. So that, I think that might have been it. And then when he saw on the TV, he saw Reed, and there, I don't know if it was a newscast or something, talking about the Fantastic Four, and then I think at that moment that was his final shift where he's like, okay, I'm gonna go kill him, or I'm gonna turn them against each other, or, use Ben. But it was really like, you have to really think about it, and it was really rushed, and it was a big switch that was not well earned. And he's like, I'm going to try and kill them all. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Which,
So towards the beginning of his character arc, I thought this was funny. It's kind of off topic, but he has a very similar character arc to Green Goblin.
Yeah, Green Goblin.
Where he gets fired from his company.
Yep.
You can't do this to me. That's what I wanted to say when that happened.
Yep.
And so, like, that's kind of what drove him over the edge, was getting fired from the company.
Exactly.
This is literally Green Goblin.
Pretty much.
They watched Spider-Man and decided to put that in their movie.
Right. Yeah, that was like, because like even had the board meeting and everything, it was the same setup.
Yeah, it was the exact same thing. Yeah.
And it's I'm trying to think. Like, I think Spider-Man did it better because you saw his clear motivations. They were set up well, and then you have the moments between him and Spider-Man that really, because he goes to that parade and kills the general and whatnot, and Spider-Man comes in to try to stop him, and so there's conflict there. But Green Goblin has a goal, And it's like similar to this one. What does Doctor Doom do once he has his powers? He goes and kills the board members
Yeah.
who screwed him over. And so it's like the same thing. But the heroes weren't involved in that. Spider-Man was involved when he went to do that, and that had the conflict, and then you had further interactions later, and he goes after Aunt May and whatnot, and you follow both their characters throughout the film and until the final battle, and it does well. This one, it's just I'm jealous or I'm mad, so I have all this power, I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna go kill him. It wasn't like he was threatening civilians. People, there was no impending threat to anyone besides our heroes. It's like, okay, fine.
Well, even to our heroes, like it took, like I said, it wasn't until it was 10 minutes, 10 minutes before the movie was over, before the villain interacted with the heroes as a villain, like he was going to attack them. Like it took an hour and 20 minutes in an hour and 35-minute movie.
Exactly.
So, like, it was crazy.
It was.
It made no sense that, like, he just wasn't present in the whole movie, really.
No. And, like, he was a pretty... I mean, once he got his powers, once he was actually... Well, sort of. It was a little underwhelming for me. Just Doctor Doom's a super powerful villain in the comics, and... I mean, all he was doing was just shooting laser beams in this.
Yeah.
I don't know. He posed a little bit of a threat, but more of his manipulation, and he uses science to freeze Mr. Fantastic, and he tricks Ben into going into the machine and orders so that he can absorb the powers and take away Ben's power, so Ben's not a threat to him when he goes to kill Mr. Fantastic. But why was he freezing? What was his plan? I don't know. I don't understand.
He was just killing. He was killing them one at a time.
Yeah.
He was trying to kill them one at a time, or defeat them all one at a time.
All right. Okay. Sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he kind of fell flat in a lot of ways, and he was just there to be a threat to our heroes, but it wasn't enough, and it took most of the movie for him to be established as a villain. So,
for sure. Well, yeah, and then so we have like a similar issue with the heroes is, so we get I think the first like 30 minutes, maybe I didn't look at the time clock, but it was probably the first 30 minutes. It was pretty good. It was a good, like, this is how we got our powers. We're trying to test them out a little bit. We're trying to figure things out. Mm-hmm. But then after that 30 minutes, so after the scene on the bridge is when that whole thing just should have ended. Like, but then it just kept going and going and going for the rest of the movie until that hour and like 10-minute mark. And then they go into the very, very rushed third act. And it's like an hour of the movie. You're just like, what in the world? Why are they still trying to figure out their powers? And it's just all these different little things. A lot of it's with the Human Torch because he's the hothead, so he's just going off and doing his own thing. He's trying to be like the typical superhero in the spotlight, whatever. And the other ones are like, no, we need to figure these out. The Thing, he has like his whole thing with his wife divorces him, or not wife, his fiance breaks up with him as soon as she sees that he's ugly.
Yeah.
And then the blind girl,
and then
falls in love with him.
And then when he's on the bridge and saves all those people, she goes all the way to the bridge and then gives him her engagement ring back
and runs away.
And then runs away.
She doesn't even give it. She just puts it on the ground and runs away.
It's like he was just in like serious distress and like could have died, and he saved all these people. You're gonna go all the way over there just to break up with him and give him back his engagement ring. That's so dumb.
Yeah, I know.
Anyways,
it's so dumb.
It's bad writing.
Yeah. So there's that whole thing where he hates his life basically, and he wants to change back to his normal self. And so the villain uses that a little bit and later on to get him to lose his powers. And then when he gets his powers back was so dumb. Like,
how so?
I don't know if you thought it was dumb how the Thing gets his powers back.
He goes back in the machine, or
Yeah, he just goes in the machine. So like anybody can just go in there and get powers
Oh,
or what?
yeah.
So they just recreated the thing that was on in space, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
can just
Oh, yeah.
anybody can just go in
Yeah,
there
that's another
and get
dumb thing about
powers.
the film. He literally says, before the third act, when the machine is brought up, he's like, or not before the third act, sometime during the second act, or like middle, I don't know. Whenever the machine is brought up, he literally says, "Oh yeah, I'm able to make this machine that replicates our powers, but in order to reverse it." But then it does give you the ability to have those powers. So basically, going up into the sun or go up into space was
Yeah,
pointless, and he didn't have to do that 'cause he could do that here on Earth.
yeah,
So I don't know. That was weird, and confusing.
yeah,
I was okay. Okay, I actually liked the decision that he made, and that like that showed his sacrifice bends, because he had just everything that he's been wanting the entire movie was just be normal again. He has an opportunity to be normal again, but in order to save his friends, he becomes ugly again. Like he gets his powers back. So like I liked, because that was like his arc, and he that was like a self-sacrificial moment for him to go and get his powers back. Yes,
yeah,
it's dumb. Yes, the machine doesn't make any sense, and whatever. But as far as from the character standpoint, I thought that was well done, because it completes his arc, and shows everything he's been working for. He realizes it was all for selfish reasons, and now I have an opportunity to save my friends, and I would be doing the wrong thing if I just stayed in my normal state. So I'm going to get my
yeah.
powers back at the cost of not being normal. But then again, can't he just use the machine to? Wait.
Yeah. So that's what I was gonna say. That
Or well,
he can just use
wait.
the machine. In the
But he
end,
needs
in
more.
the end, he's
I
like,
don't know.
no, I'll just stay like this. He's like, I'll just stay like this. It's essentially what he said, because Reed was like, we can put you back in the machine and get you back to normal. And he's like, no, I think I like it like this. And then the blind girl's like, yeah, we like him like this. It's like, okay. That's a little weird.
Okay, whatever.
So that didn't make much sense, and that was weird.
But what I'm saying is like that was his hero moment, and I thought it was
Yeah, for sure.
well developed.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good.
Johnny's
Yeah.
development
So other
as
than
well.
that,
Like,
yeah,
well, like Johnny kind of has. Well, he doesn't though.
I didn't really
Well, the only
notice
there was
much
nothing.
development for him.
There was the only thing was he was ready. He was ready to work as a team at the end, but there was nothing that really led up to that for us to really believe that he should have made that decision or was struggling with that decision. He's just like, oh yeah, we're a team now, and then he's like rooting for Ben and saying, you go guy, I got you, or way to go guy, whatever he said. So
Yeah, I guess so.
because throughout the film he pretty much hates Ben. He's making fun of him, he's tearing him down, and they don't have a good relationship, and then they kind of have like are buddy by the end. So that was kind of a development, but it wasn't well earned. Reed Richards' development, there was a little bit.
He had. I thought he had maybe some of the best.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, none of it was well earned. I don't think any of their character development was well earned, and it was also rushed because it was literally within 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes,
Right.
And then they were all working together, and
Right.
so they all just changed within 10 minutes, and so none of it was well earned. But I thought like it was good because his whole arc throughout the entire movie was he was a bad leader and he couldn't lead this group of people.
Oh, right.
And so everything kind of changed when he took on the responsibility of being the leader and being the man that he needs to be, both leading in his relationship with Sue. So when he changed there, like that relationship started to work, and it actually was working out for him.
Right, because
and then when he changed,
he struggled with commitment, and now he's ready to commit. So he's stepping up and being a leader. So you're spot on.
So then when he did that with the team, what I noticed was that he started to use everybody's powers, and not only their powers but their personalities to his advantage. And so like this whole time with him being like a control freak and all these things, like he's trying to change everybody, and he doesn't want them to be how they are. He wants them to be different. And like the Torch he's just the best example, is that he's so wild. And so like when in that moment, like when they're fighting the bad guy, he needed him to be wild. He needed him to go supernova to defeat the villain. And just everybody was using their powers, and Reed was leading them well to use their powers and their personalities to defeat the villain. And so when he changed, everybody else changed. So like when you have a bad leader, there's going to be chaos. When you have a good leader, everything's going to be in well order and work together. And so then when he changed from not being a leader to being the leader and taking on that responsibility, he started not controlling, but like using everybody's personalities and powers to defeat the villain. And it just kind of worked all like harmoniously a bit. So I thought that worked pretty well. Again, it was all just everybody had a change of heart within the last 10 minutes, and that was all rushed. But that's what I saw, and so like that's when I was like, oh, I didn't really see much change in Sue. I didn't see much change in
nothing.
the Torch. But you kind of pointed out that like I guess he did kind of change with his relationship with the Thing.
Well, it wasn't just his relationship with the Thing. It's just he's a solo guy. He wants to do his own thing throughout the whole film, and in the end, he's willing to put his ego aside and work as a team in order to stop the bad guy. Yeah, for sure. So like the way I saw it was like, because I didn't notice that, and then I didn't notice. I did notice the Things changed, but it was kind of separate. Like his kind of change was kind of separate from theirs, and it was like the only one that was kind of separate. Yeah,
and then
true.
But when that happened, like when Reed actually decided to become the leader, that's when everything started to work harmoniously. But before that, it was just chaos. And so like I think it was just it was a lot of this was on him, and because he wasn't being the man he needed to be. Nothing was working out, and until he decided to make that choice to be a leader, it was never going to work out, and it was always going to be chaos.
Right.
And then when he changed, everybody else changed.
Right. Yeah. Spot on. Something that they're probably going to not be able to do in the new Fantastic Four, because apparently, if rumors are true, Sue Storm will be leading the Fantastic Four.
Yep.
Can't wait for that.
Should probably have a crush on Silver Surfer too.
What, the female one?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so I guess we can kind of get into let's just hit these, like, the hero sacrifice. You kind of touched on the Thing, but it's just so dumb. Like, they weren't saving anybody.
No.
It's just, so there was no sacrifice. There's no real sacrifice. Well, there's no real heroism. Like, there just wasn't. And it's just dumb. I mean, it didn't work at all.
Reed almost dies. He gets frozen.
Yeah, so that's what I kind of thought was the Dark Knight of the Soul when he was frozen.
Well, it was that, and the Thing lost his powers. Everyone was just in disarray and all over the place, and it was chaos, and things weren't going well for the heroes, and the villain was
for sure.
his plan was working as he turned the team against itself, and he got rid of the Thing so that the Thing wasn't a threat to him. And that was that.
Well, then the Thing made his change, and then after that, like, it kind of, when they all came together in, I don't even know where it was. I don't know if it's Times Square or what, but when they kind of all came together in that intersection or whatever, that's when the rest of them just kind of made their changes, and they're repenting, I guess, if you want to even call it that.
Yeah, and, repenting, and then, kind of laying their own egos aside in order to work as a team.
Yeah. Remember, this was all within 10 minutes, so.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, do you have anything else for the story?
I don't think so. Just, like I said, it's like, the leadership of Reed and, Ben's sacrifice. These are things that, are good, and, something that's somewhat redeemable about this movie, but not well earned, and we just kind of have to, leave it at that.
Yeah. So we should talk about. Well, first of all, Sue Storm, her character was just over sexualized, like, heavily, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then when that dumb scene
on the bridge
where she has to, like, get undressed.
So stupid.
It was literally pointless. Like, as far as the story part of it was literally pointless.
It was
really
written
just
so
to
that
have her get undressed.
She would get undressed.
So that she could get undressed. Yeah.
It made no sense. The reason why she got undressed made no sense. It accomplished absolutely nothing.
Let me go through this.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so she gets in. So they're trying to get past.
The cops.
It was either the crowd of people or the police.
It was the
or
police.
Something.
The police
there's
is
just a
looking
line,
directly at them the whole time as she's getting undressed, meaning that
Yeah.
they know what's happening, but she go invisible.
They're trying to get past the police, so Reed's great idea is that she goes invisible and gets past them, so that they can both get past them. I don't know.
How in the world did they get past them? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No, so she gets naked, and then she's like in her underwear, and then her invisibility comes back or goes away, and then she's visible in her underwear, and then she goes invisible again, takes her underwear off, and then goes past the security somehow.
Yep.
What's his name?
Reed and Johnny.
Flame On guy. Yeah, Johnny Blaze. And is that his name? Is that
Johnny Storm? Wait.
Johnny
Blaze? Johnny Blaze. Johnny Storm. Johnny Blaze.
No, that's Johnny Blaze is a Ghost Rider, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Storm.
Well,
Johnny
whatever. Okay. What's
the Human Torch?
The Human Torch. That's the one I'm trying to get. Okay, so the Human Torch and Reed Richards both get past the police, not invisible.
It doesn't make any. It made no sense
So
at all.
why did she have to get invisible to get past them? Get naked and invisible.
It was just so the writer, the perverted writer and director.
Yeah. So one of the reasons, that was the main reason for it. Another reason for it was to show that they needed the suits that could match their personalities or whatever and bond to them. But they should have done it with one of the other characters and not in that way, which was super dumb. It didn't work. They do it.
They actually no, that wasn't I mean, that was kind of one of them. But what really did it was when the Human Torch came in and his clothes were all burnt. And he's like, we need to do something about this. Yeah. And so then they make the suits. So
that's so dumb.
Yeah,
it was a completely stupid, pointless scene. Literally made no sense. She just gets naked and then for no reason at all, other than they just wanted to put it in the movie.
And then they do it two more times. The same thing.
And then there was,
Well, one more time. I don't know. It's another pointless scene. But anyways.
Well, they do it in the sequel too.
Oh yeah.
So the other thing that was dumb in this movie was the blind girl. So the Thing was complaining that he was like, God, if you did this to me,
or if there's a God, he hates me.
Oh yeah, if God did this to me, then he hates me. And then the blind girl from across the room says, well, I don't know how the line goes.
He's a she, or
well, he's a she, and she doesn't. She's not so into hate. Yeah, no. He's a she, and she's not so into hate. So that was really stupid.
Yeah,
very dumb line, and that's all that was.
Yeah. God's not a she.
That was it, I think. For
there was a comment
they put in.
Like the first line of the film was about evolution, when Reed Richards was giving the presentation.
Oh yeah.
That's just another thing, but.
Yeah, so there's just some things to watch out for if you decide to watch this, which I would be surprised if you do after listening to our review.
Not much good about it. Yeah, like I said, not much redeemable. It was just bleh.
Oh, there was a pretty fun Stan Lee cameo, which you can hear us talk about in our mini reviews, our after hours show on Patreon. And if you want to just support us in our mission to just expose all the nonsense in these movies and just movies in general as we review movies and as we continue to grow our channel and just help people to really think about what they're watching, what they're consuming, and the movies they're watching, and just knowing to be present and aware of what they're watching. And if you want to just help us out, it's $5 a month. We're sort of a streaming service. We got both of the movies that I've made on there and all three of our podcasts, and we're making more content for you guys there. So it's a pretty good deal for $5, and just to help us grow and help us to keep doing this stuff. Yeah, so in our mini reviews, we of course do shorter reviews of movies, but we started them out with talking about the Stan Lee cameo, the end credits scene. And then we check the IMDb rating to cross-reference and see see what other people thought and just kind of get our raw reactions for that. And yeah, I think that's everything. I think we can get into rating this movie.
All right. Yeah, like I said, not a whole lot that's redeemable about this film.
Yeah, no.
It was just meh. Like I said, it wasn't terrible. Like, it had a story. It had a plot. There was a lot of plot convenience that was annoying. It had character development for some of the characters, even if it wasn't super well earned. But I would definitely say this is a below average film.
For sure.
So
I would say low fours for me.
I was about to say low fours.
Like 4.3.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
We always think alike. All right. Actually, I mean, we haven't had a whole lot of conflict, and I thought we would have a lot more conflict in these reviews. I mean, I still think Madam Web was too high. I'll keep beating that dead horse. And other than that, I think we've mostly been like I said, I was gonna say low fours, and you said low fours, so I was like, there you go.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe 4.5. Well, you said low fours. No, so let's do
I said 4.3. Yeah.
4.3. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Cool.
So, how many movies we got left, Tobiah?
We have four more after this one.
Four more
movies. So yeah, we
Fantastic
have actually
some 4.3.
Yep.
We should do 4.4. I mean, it's Fantastic Four. We have 4 left.
Sure, if you want to.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll give it one more point for the coincidences. It's not really even a coincidence, but it's dumb. 4.3.
Yeah. We actually do have some news for you guys.
Yes, we do.
I was going to say something in the beginning, but I forgot.
Oh, it's okay.
So like I said in the beginning, that we have some exciting news for you guys. Yes, we have set down our decision for our season 2.
We're doing more superhero movies.
Yes, we're doing more superhero movies. Just kidding. No, we're not doing that. Don't worry. Jokes. You want to say it? Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so this has kind of been like a trial run in a lot of ways. We're learning. We're trying to get better at this. We both are learning how to just communicate better and how to, review movies. Like, I feel like the show's already completely evolved and changed a lot from the beginning to the end. Just how we talk about the movies, what we're diving into, what we're discussing, what aspects of it. Like we didn't even talk about comic book accuracy hardly at all during this review.
Oh, and
that's like one thing.
I actually wanted to mention something. I actually wrote something down.
Dr. Doom.
Let me get into it. Let me say it really quick.
Dr. Doom looked cool.
That's my thing.
Go ahead.
Dr. Doom looked amazing. He was perfectly comic book accurate. It looked amazing. And then something they did do differently is that Reed Richards was broke. Reed Richards is supposed to be the richest man alive, and so that was really different.
Yeah, good point. I didn't catch that. Yeah.
We also didn't get into any of the technical aspects, which we...
Oh, yeah. We just talked all story, which is great. Fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I talked a little bit about CGI. I mean, it was not that great, but... And it wasn't terrible, but... So, there's that. Anyways, like I said, we're learning, evolving. We also are sick of superhero movies. No, I was kidding. We've enjoyed going through all these films. There's been a lot of good ones, a lot of bad ones. But now we're thinking about, okay, what do we want to do for the next season? And one thing that we decided on and we have been working through and trying to figure out is picking our top 10 to 15 favorite movies each. Just say like, hey, like, what's your list of top 15 movies that you've seen that you would rate, high eights and nines. What is that list? Because like we're 20? How many movies are we into this? Like 18, 19? I don't even know.
20. Yeah. I guess it would be something like that.
And the highest movie we've put on is 8.4, Spider-Man. Well, we're like, okay, so and we're talking about, okay, we're criticizing and tearing apart all these films over and over again, and so let's kind of put our money where our mouth is and let's say, hey, well, these are the movies that we do like. We're watching all these movies we don't like, or we used to like, but don't as much anymore because we actually work through them and tore them apart and criticize them and thought about them critically. So now it's like, okay, well, let's pick our favorite movies and movies that we think are just and not I guess not even just not just our favorite movies, but what movies do we say like are actually good films with good stories, good characters. They're not flawless, but let's put them all together. Let's review them for a whole season, one at a time. And how we're gonna do that is we are going to, for our Patreons, we're gonna do a kind of
so this will be 4 weeks from now. 4 weeks from now,
now,
this will get released with when we release Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. It'll be our Patreon for that episode.
Yeah. We're going to do a draft style. We're going to both come with a list of 15 movies. We have not talked about this. We've not told each other what our movies are going to be. I mean, we've referenced it a few times in our conversations, but for the most part, we don't know what our list is going to be. And we're going to bring it and do a live reaction draft and pick one movie at a time. So
that's a good idea. We should actually do a live YouTube thing.
Well, you have to have 500 subscribers in order to go live.
So somewhere we can go live, I think.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Maybe Rumble.
Yeah, I think you can on Rumble.
Maybe we'll figure that out. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out. We'll go Facebook Live.
As of right now, we're sticking with Patreon only.
Yep. Patreon only. That's all right. And so we're going to do... We haven't worked through all the details, but I would say, maybe roll die or... Not a die.
Well, someone will go first. So
someone will go first.
One of us will go first, and we'll just draft it. Pick our movies, and we'll kind of get into it when we actually go through the episode. We'll go through all the rules. We do have a few rules set out for it, and what we can pick and what we can't pick for movies.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll definitely dive into that when we come upon that.
And we're gonna finish with hopefully we'll walk away with 20 movies. Because
so we're doing
15
we'll
because
end with a list of 20.
We're gonna have the same movies, and so we're not gonna have 15 different movies each. We're gonna have overlap. So we're gonna try to put together 20 movies and review all 20 of them for the next season, one at a time. And so we're gonna get hopefully some good films. And I think we're probably gonna have a lot of disagreements. For the most part, we've been in agreement with a lot of these superhero films. I think we're gonna be criticizing each other more in a good way, and saying well, because there's a lot more personal bias when it comes to this.
Yeah.
However,
for sure,
that might completely change. We might get to this and one of my favorite movies, Tobiah starts pointing out things that I didn't see in the story or things that are lacking. That I was like, oh yeah, it's good, and that that I need to be corrected on, and then vice versa, and we might still come away with similar scores at the end, but who knows? We'll see. We'll keep the same rating system. I would love it, 100 episodes down the road, if we're still doing this, to have a list of 100 movies that we've reviewed and all in order of what we've scored it, and
for sure
and whatnot. So
we're actually 22. We're 22 movies in.
22. Right now. Wow. Okay. There we go.
That's pretty great. That's crazy.
That is.
22 weeks in, almost half a year.
Yep. That's awesome. So obviously next season we'll probably. I think this one was pretty ambitious. We did a lot, but so maybe next season we will just stick with the 20. Sure. And
that's why we're gonna go with 20, a little less.
Yeah,
because we have 26 in this season, which is quite a bit.
That's a lot. Yeah,
that's a lot. So, especially with 1 hour episodes and stuff. So, yeah, we're gonna have it a little shorter with 20 episodes, and we're very excited for it. We're both really looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to the draft. It's gonna be fun.
Definitely,
it's gonna be a very fun episode. So definitely head over to Patreon and sign up to listen to that. And I don't know, you got anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for tuning in and listening to another review and getting through another one of these older movies. And we got 4 more left of this season, and it's bittersweet, and we're looking forward to next season and diving into that and continuing to just work through movies and stuff. And if you ever want us to review a movie that you like or something, you can comment that on our Patreon, and we'll do a mini review of it. We've already done that once, and so thank you guys, and glorify God and watch good movies. Bye.
See ya.